Welcome to Module 4, Lesson 4, Solving Multi-Step Problems with Fractions and Mixed Numbers. So today we're going to talk about creating multi-step equations and then solving those multi-step equations from real-world problems. Okay, so this is the application piece. So again, we're going to go through our steps. So we have our ride. We read, identify, determine, and evaluate. So first, we're going to go ahead and read it. John is cooking enough lentils for lentil barley soup and lentil salad. The lentil barley soup calls for 3/4 cup of dried lentils, and the lentil salad recipe calls for 1.5 cups of dried lentils. John has a 1/8 cup scoop. How many scoops of dried lentils will John need to have enough for the soup and the salad? So the question is, so now we've read it and we're highlighting the question. So how many scoops does he need to have enough for the soup and the salad? Well, in this case, it's just asking for how many they need for the soup and the salad. Excuse me, not how many for the salad and for the soup. So in this case, they just want a total number of scoops. Well, in order to figure out the total number of scoops, I have to know how much I need, or how much John needs. And in this case, he needs 3/4 of a cup, and he needs 1.5 cups. And then we also need to know how big the scoops are, and the scoop is 1/8 of a cup. Okay, so my plan, and I can write my plan out in words. I can add, that says add. I can add what I need. Okay, when I add what I need, that's going to give me the total that I need. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that total, and since I want to figure out how many scoops, so I have the total at that point, and then I'm scooping from that. So since I'm scooping from that, I'm trying to figure out, okay, well, how many scoops is going to get rid of all of this, is going to make me use all of it. So I'm going to add what I need, and then I have to divide it by the size of my scoop. So I'm adding what I need, okay, so it gives me the total that I need, and then I'm going to take that total, and it gets divided out by my scoops. So mathematically, I'm going to add, and then I'm going to divide. So in this case, I'm going to add the 3/4 plus the 1.5, and then I'm going to divide by 1/8. But now here's the thing. According to the order of operations, division would get done first. And I don't want division done first. I want addition done first, and then I want division done second. So to make that happen, I need to put it into parentheses. Okay? I don't say, this is not what I do. I don't say 3/4 plus 1.5 equals something, and then I take that something and divide it by 1/8. I need to be able to take this and put it into one expression like I did it here. So no to this. Okay, but in order to make this happen, we have to do this in the parentheses first and then divide it by 1/8. Okay, so now that I have a plan, I can evaluate that plan. I can solve. All right, so here I know that in order for this to work, I have to have these two, because I'm adding, these two have to be the same denominator. So I know that 1/2 and 4, the LCM of 2 and 4 is 4. So I have to change 1/2 to something with 4. I know that I multiply by 2, so I multiply by 2 and I get 2/4. So now this means I'm going to take 3/4 plus 1 and 2/4. And when I do that, I get 3 plus 2 is 5/4, because I don't add my denominators. And then right now I haven't added a whole yet. Okay, so in this case, I have my 3/4, well, 1.5. I'm actually running out of space here, so I'm going to erase and clean it up a little bit for you guys. Okay, so I have 3/4 plus 1 and 2/4, and I'm dividing all of that by 1/8. Okay, so when I do that, I get 1 and 5/4, and that is going to be divided by 1/8. Now I know 5/4 is an improper fraction. However, I don't want to change that to a mixed number just yet because since it's dividing, I have to change this to a improper fraction anyways. So again, I'm going to do, I have one whole group of 4. Okay, so that tells me that I have 4 plus 5 extra. Okay, so 4 plus 5 is 9. So now I have 9/4 divided by 1/8. I know that to do division, I actually multiply by the reciprocal, so I have 9/4 times 8/1. Both 4 and 8 are divisible by 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1, and 8 divided by 4 is 2. My new problem becomes 9/1 times 2/1, and that gives me 18/1. So I know that my answer is 18 scoops, because 18/1 is equal to 18. All right? So again, you follow your order of operations and you follow your rules. You know that the rule for adding and subtracting is to have common denominators, so that's what we did here. And then the rule for dividing is multiply by the reciprocal. Okay, so before conducting some experiments, a scientist mixes a 1/2 gram of substance A with 3/4 gram of substance B. If the scientist uses 1/8 gram of the mixture for each experiment, how many experiments can be conducted? I want you to do your ride and then come back and check your ride. And then after that, we'll go ahead and work through the problem. Okay, so how many experiments can be conducted? To know that, I have to know how much I have. So I have 1/2 gram and 3/4 gram, and they're all the same measurement, so we don't have to worry about that. And it says he mixes. Mixes tells me that I'm going to add those two things together. And then he uses 1/8 gram for each experiment. This tells me that I'm going to divide. It tells me that I'm taking that total that I have and I'm dividing it by the 1/8 that I need for each experiment. All right? I want you now to try to put together an expression and then come back and check your answer. So in this case, I would have 1/2 plus 3/4, and I would divide that by 1/8. However, since I want to add these together first, I need to put that inside of parentheses. All right, and then I want you to go ahead and try to solve the problem on your own and then come back and check your work. So since we're adding, these two denominators have to be the same. I know the LCM of 2 and 4 is 4, so 3/4 can stay the same, so that doesn't change. But 1/2 has to change to something with 4. I know I multiplied by 2 at the bottom, so I have to do the same thing at the top, and I get 2/4. So I have 2/4 plus 3/4, and I'm dividing all of that by 1/8. When I add these two together, I get 5/4, and I want to divide that by 1/8. Yes, I know it's improper, but remember, we need it to be improper when we're dividing, so don't change it just yet. In order to divide, I have to multiply by the reciprocal, so 5/4 times 8/1. And then I go through and I simplify, so 8 and 4 are both divisible by 4, so I have 1 and 2. My new problem is 5/1 times 2/1, and I know that gives me 10/1, so my answer is 10. So the scientist, we'll write our sentence because we always have to write our answer as a complete sentence. The scientist can perform 10 experiments using 1/8 gram of the mixture each. All right. Again, it's just a matter of working through and figuring out what you're doing in terms of, okay, if I were to actually work myself through this process, physically, what was I doing with the materials? Well, I was putting them together. So mathematically, that means I add. And then I'm taking that material and I had to divvy it out to each different experiment. So I was dividing it out to each experiment mathematically. All right, so I want you to do your ride and I want you to solve this problem. All right, the only thing that I'm going to ask you to put into your guided practice is your expression and your answer, and then we'll talk more about the ride and all that in class tomorrow. As always, if you have any questions, please be sure to write them down or email me so we can go over them in class.